You're listening to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman on the Land of Israel Network.
Hello and welcome to Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com. Well, we've been doing this Meet the Candidates series now 11 weeks in a row, and this week's show I traded, and I'm now on Monday and not on Tuesday, so I could be before the election with my last candidate. Now, the first week we did a candidate that has ended up on a list called Blue and White, but at the time she was running on Yesh Atid, Tehila Friedman. So Blue and White has not actually been done in any way. Tehila is number 40. So we needed a new candidate for Blue and White who's in a realistic slot and who has never been in the Knesset before. And we got one. His name is Benny Gantz. He's number 1 on the list. I interviewed him for the Jerusalem Post, and we have the recording here to listen to on Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com. Enjoy.
What has surprised you most on this campaign that you've been through over the last 3 months?
The urge for change in the Israeli population. We had several options to develop ourselves as a party. In our political march had several options, several trades, several paths. That we knew that we will have to choose different directions to eliminate options, to adopt others as we move on. So nothing on that area surprised me. Like I went and linked with Bogi and later on made the unite with Yesh Atid. I was a bit surprised with the impact. People are kind of looking for alternative, and in a way, not from nowhere, but basically close to nowhere, we created a viable alternative that I believe will win in 4 days' time. Not everybody thinks like that, but yeah.
Well, in order to win, okay, well, I want to put it this way. One charge against you I believed until the last couple days. That you are the product of advisors and campaigners that are controlling you right now, which is true of every politician during a campaign. And the reason why I stopped believing it is because if you're controlled by advisors who want you to win, then you would give up that rotation right now. Because if you don't give up the rotation, Bibi's going to be prime minister. And if you do give up the rotation, you can still win. But you still have 3 days to do it. And it has to come from all 4 of you together. Because on the radio this morning you said, we make decisions as a team, we made a promise, we're keeping our promise. Lapid needs to be the one to back down in order for you to win. Is there still any chance at all that that can happen working as a team?
I can give you 3-minute lecture why you are wrong with the assumption that if we will give up on this rotation, we will gain more votes. I can give you a 3 minutes lecture on why this is the right thing to do. So you can have them both. I'm saying we said Mazal Ve'bracha, we shake hands. That's very important in Jewish tradition, to stand for your word, and I'm going to keep it.
If you don't win, this is a question from Ma'ariv. They asked, if you don't win, will you stay opposition head or will you quit politics?
I will win. I'll expand it.
Please.
I've offered my services to the Israeli society for the next decade. And I'm going to keep my promise, my offer. And I will win in order to be effective.
I'm going to ask the question different than you've been asked it 20 times over the last few weeks.
Thank you for pre-clarifying it.
I'm going to do my best. What's so bad about getting some experience under Bibi before becoming prime minister? You would probably be a great prime minister if you had experience first. You'd be a better prime minister if you had experience first as defense minister. It's not a bad thing to be defense minister when you don't have any political experience until now. Why don't you leave that as an option available if it's good for the country?
Unfortunately, Mr. Netanyahu ran out of public credit. That's it. 13 years is by far more than is allowed. It's by far more than it's right. And unfortunately, he did not use the achievement of Israel in a way to ensure long-term growth and long-term development within the Israeli society. On the contrary, every segment that we look into, and I highly recommend that you take a look at Professor Dan Ben David's paper, it was published lately. Each and every segment within the Israeli society is deteriorating. Education, health, transportation, infrastructure, any area of growth engine has been damaged and not sufficiently developed. Secondly, the level of corruption that Mr. Netanyahu is involved in leaves me with no alternative of how to work with him. There is a limit to what one can do.
But Mr. Kaspi told me ahead of this interview that you were very close to accepting to be his defense minister, his ambassador to Washington.
I was not close to it at all. The offer has arrived. I was not close to it.
It was not close to accepting it.
Not close to accept it, yes. I saw no alternative other than myself to lead this very important effort of changing the direction which Israel is going. I would be very happy to see one. I didn't see one. So I decided to build my own party and take this track. It's true that I need to gain, it's true to everyone, I would say. Everyone can use more experience, right? If you become a good lawyer, you'll be a better lawyer 3 years later. If you become a good physician, you'll be a better physician years later, etc., etc. So by not excluding the importance of experience, let me tell you that first of all, I come from a very solid background of running huge organization and seeing the state challenges wherever those are, and it's not just the security. Within the IDF, you are being exposed to so many different aspects of the Israeli society and the Israeli state, by far more than a guy who worked for a furniture company at the time. So I don't think I'm not exposed to what Israel needs. I've used this political insurance of cool-down period to gain perspective on Israeli society in different segments.
Pnima.
Not just Pnima. Pnima was one of my activities. I had 10 different business activities. I had 5 or 6 social activities, and I had the opportunity to learn about Israel not only from a military perspective, military service perspective, but from other perspectives as well. Last but not least, look that I created a pre-coalition before the election started, right? I've already linked 3 parties into one camp. Why don't you think I'll be able to do the next one?
So let's talk about how to do that.
Very simple. The biggest part. Once that's in hand, all the rest, those are technical details.
It seems hard,
Techno-political details, let's put it this way. More precise, probably.
Okay, but if Likud isn't willing to join, isn't willing to get rid of Netanyahu in order to join, then your choices are limited. You'll have your labor and merits, and then I don't know what else. Feiglin.
More than likely, Mr. Netanyahu is going to be indicted. He has this hearing process, whatever it is, how long it is, going to take. And he cannot be a parliament member, nor can he be a minister under those indictments. So that's not an option by law. And I think that the Likud is about to enter a new era, which he deserves, by the way. I don't think that Netanyahu helps the Likud that much. He tried to fear them as if there's nothing for them but him. and just like a pine tree, he chopped the heads of everything that grows under his head. Look what happened to the Likud. Look how much they're suffering from his leadership. This is why I think we need statement and not only politician. And I think you're sitting in front of one of them. I'm more of a leader. I held myself more of a leader, more of a statement than a politician, and I'm not ashamed in what I've just said.
So, but I was asking about Feiglin. There are pollsters behind the scenes who say he's the third largest party. And for you to get up from the 45 of blue and white labor merits, you need those 10 seats.
One aspect he's very liberal, in others he's very radical. We will have to sit down after the election and see what are the principles that we are all willing to follow. I cannot buy into radicalism, I can definitely buy into liberalism, and I think he can get nowhere with any of his ideas unless he supports someone. So we'll see how it goes.
What was your impression of him when you met with him?
I didn't meet with him.
You've never met him?
I met him by and large, but not. This is not how we do it, right? The leaders of the parties are not sitting before the elections, definitely not in those days. And but we have our connection.
Can you present me your ideal cabinet?
With members of cabinet, you mean, and who holds what?
Go with it however you want.
No.
Well, whichever way you would answer.
I can, but I won't. Let's put it this way.
No, there are ways that you can't answer in a way that you can.
I definitely can, but I would honestly, I will be very candid with you. I will not. Probably one of the more toughest decisions that I would have to do is how to form the cabinet and who to assign to which office, etc., etc. And in this issue, I keep all my obligations and all my thoughts to myself. With your permission.
You have my permission. You spent a lot of time in the United States. You were the attaché there in Washington, and I learned about your trip on a motorcycle from coast to coast. So what did you learn about America that'll help you as Prime Minister from that time?
Look, I don't think we have any other United States in terms of superpower that we are allied with. Nor do I think the United States have any other Israel as the post democratic one. And in between those segments, I've learned that by and large and in very specific, wherever you have the same interest and the same values, you end up with a great relationship. And I think this is what made the relations between Israel and the United States, plus of course the Jewish communities which were involved within the different segments of the American political life, which helped us a lot in maintaining those relations. Unfortunately, I think Netanyahu did wrong by choosing sides. He went with the Republicans, he went with Orthodox, and he really neglected, but he didn't support the others. Now I think I shouldn't care if you are a Republican or a Democrat, nor should I care if you are Orthodox, conservative, or Reform. It's your choice and it's your political life. And I think that the bonds between Israel and the United States have to be above those affiliations on the political life, on the cultural life, on value aspects of life, and also religion. And I've said in AIPAC that the Western world is long enough for everybody. And I believe in it.
Can you tell me more just about the motorcycle trip?
No, it wasn't. By the way, who said it was coast to coast? It was in different places in the States, but it was, unfortunately, it wasn't really coast to coast. I don't know who said that. I haven't seen the show, so.
Where'd you go?
I had a motorcycle when I was a defense official. And I've been riding in West Virginia, in Virginia, in Maryland. And every time I flew to another area, I would rent a bike and ride around the area. And the guy who bought the bikes for me is in San Diego, and whenever I went to California, so I've been riding in California. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time. Maybe I have one more chance to ride a motorcycle in the next few days. I want to tell you about the family in Israel.
Yeah.
You may even want to interview them once. The name is Fuchs.
Okay.
The parents are ultra-Orthodox. One daughter, to my best knowledge, is secular, or one daughter is religious. Maybe I'm mistaken here. But then you have a conservative rabbi, a reform rabbi, a total secular who's currently going to be, soon enough he's going to be a major general. He was the commander of Gaza division, Yuda Fuchs. So he's the youngest one of those. This family kept its unity regardless of what kind of different beliefs each one ended up.
Are they related to you?
No, I just met them in the paratrooper. We served together. 4 of them were in the paratrooper. One of them, Arale, who is the reform rabbi, is currently Maskira Kibbutz of Nachal Oz.
Cool. So what would you do to fix this relationship between Israel and American
Work
Jews
on
that
it.
Bibi lost?
Work on it carefully. Do it. Bibi had signed an arrangement for the Kotel that everybody agreed to, and he backed up on it. It was not the only thing he backed up for political reasons. This is why I'm telling you it's about time to have statements and not just politicians. And understand the importance of the balance between political consideration and statehood consideration, and you need to find the right balance. Unfortunately, he's losing it.
And answer the same question you did this morning about the body coming home.
Yeah, but one can look at it from a political spin, but I put it aside totally, and I'm telling you that we are so happy that the family could get to this point in which they have their dear ones, and they will have a funeral today, and they will have a grave to go to, and they'll have less question marks open to carry with them for the rest of their life. So I'm much more happy for them than disappointed, potentially being disappointed from others.
Why didn't you meet with Donald Trump when you were there? I mean, I realize it's technical reasons.
These considerations, and I tell you what I asked my team when we went to AIPAC. It's true that I wanted to have the central stage like the Prime Minister, because I think that it is right for the American audience to be exposed to the one who will show up there next year as the Prime Minister. But I also asked my team to make sure that whatever Bibi gets, I get less, because Israel has only one Prime Minister at a time. So if it's the length of the speech or whatever the arrangements are, make sure that we don't present ourselves as we are the Prime Minister, because Israel has only one Prime Minister.
So that's an AIPAC?
Benjamin Netanyahu is my Prime Minister, whether I like it or not. He's my Prime Minister, and I need to respect it. And if the White House would think that it's important for them to meet me, I'm sure that no one would have blocked them.
Why didn't you meet with Merkel when you went to Germany?
Same issue. I mean, I came to speak about security, about issues. That was my agenda. I went for a quick trip, went there, stayed less than a night, and came back.
And then security things. How do we stop Hamas?
I've said what I think, so there's nothing to hide from.
Okay.
You should separate them between what you should not do and what you should do.
Okay.
You do not waste 3.5 years of total calm and do nothing. This is exactly what Bibi did from the end of Protective Edge until the escalation began a year ago, along with the fence and the borders and all those things. Once those started, you should be much more decisive in your activities to bring back the level of deterrence that you gain in Protective Edge in such a heavy price. And you do not pay protection fees in cash money. We have transferred funds to the Gaza Strip through international procedures in parallel to reasonable, I would not say complete. What are we transferring the money on? Like if you build a building, you can see the project. If you're building a sewage place, you can see the project. Whatever you're doing on infrastructure, you can see the project. Bank accounts, you can see at least where it is it going to, who gets it. So it's more reasonable. Now, I'm not naive. I'm sure that Hamas took something aside, this way or another, but to send them millions in cash, that's by far more what you should do.
Last question.
But this is one thing. Now, assuming that you restore the terrace by force, unfortunately, then you could and should start in diplomatic activities with the Arab countries around, of pressing Hamas, of pressing the Palestinian Authority to try and restore some other aspects over there. You should promote infrastructure. I think we should have workers coming from Gaza into Israel under very severe security considerations and checkups that we can do. Not to zero risks, but within reasonable risks. So you create more than just desperate within Gaza. Create good price and you promote hope.
Okay, last question regarding hope. How can we make peace with Abbas now when he's about to die? The man is very, very sick. What happens with the Palestinian Authority when Abbas dies, and how are we going to move?
There will be someone else. Very simple.
Have you met with him in the past?
Ben Gurion built this country, and someone else continued. The graveyards are full with those people that never had replacement. I don't think that's the case. Now, I'm telling you, it's on the Palestinian as well to take accountability and responsibility for their future. I'm not putting their future on myself. I'm looking at the Zionist future of being Jewish, democratic, well-secured country, living side by side to our neighbors with whatever entity will end up as a result of our processes, if they ever be able to conduct one. And I'm sure that we can do it. And once again, there will be Prime Minister after Netanyahu. I think you're sitting ahead of him now, instead in front of him now. There will be someone else in Gaza Strip in the Palestinian Authority after Mahmoud Abbas will move on. You can think of names over there. Any name is a potential name, but let's leave it for them.
Thank you very, very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
That was Benny Gantz, the leader of the Blue and White Party and their candidate for Prime Minister in Tuesday's election. This has been Gil Hoffman, Inside Israel Today. Have a great day from Jerusalem. Bye-bye. Tune in to Inside Israel Today here on the Land of Israel Network, where we have been introducing the world to the candidates running for Knesset. From the Meretz Party on the far left to the Otzma Yehudit Party on the right. From the Likud to the Blue and White Party. From the Labor Party to the Zehut Party. We at Inside Israel Today have been interviewing politicians from across the political spectrum who are running in the April 9th election. Tune in to Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network, on thelandofisrael.com.
This is Naftali Bennett, and you're on the Land of Israel.